have the best lighting right now, and depending on where I sit the phone, like it makes it's like it's doing this warping weird energy to my face, like making my eyes look darker than what it actually is. But that's only due to a lack of lighting. Okay. All right. So let's go ahead and get started. So let me tell y'all about the download that I got on my way back, right, from the nature preserve. So some of you guys may be familiar with the movie The Golden Child. So, The Golden Child, if you're not familiar with it, it's a movie that's starring Eddie Murphy. And it's about this, I don't know if the kid is Chinese, if he's Japanese, but it's about this gifted child that they call the Golden Child, right? And they wanted to kidnap this child. Before the child was kidnapped, people was able to come to this child to get healing, okay? To it's literally like when you think of Yeshua and the kind of alchemy, okay, divine power that Yeshua was tapping into when he was able to heal the blind, okay, like kind of spit on his hand, wipe the spit on the person's eyes, and now that person can see. Or they will bring people who were sick, who was diseased, who were ill, okay, to this kid, and this child could just meditate, just pray, speak something, or even touch the person or whatever, and the child will be able to heal whomever they brought to the child, right? Okay, so there was a portion, y'all know they was hunting this child down. They managed to get the kid, and once they got the kid, they basically entrapped him because they had like a larger purpose or intent of what they wanted to do with that child, you know, for ill purposes, right? So while this child was in the cage, right, they had demons, okay, well, they had demonically possessed beings sitting around this child just chanting like these dark demonic spells and stuff like that, or chanting to certain deities or even Satan himself, okay, like just in a deep demonically possessed trance, right? And just trying to channel and conjure evil, right? So during this time, while this child was surrounded by these demonic beings that's like, you know, meditating and chanting and in this trance, you know, trying to conjure evil around this child. And basically the whole goal was to weaken the child so that they can possess the child's gifts and powers. That was the whole point. So the child was fasting. However, the child had like some kind of plant in his pocket that he would kind of sneak and eat off. It looked like a leaf, but he would sneak and eat bits and pieces off of this plant while he was trapped in this cage, right? While these demonically possessed beings are surrounding him. The whole place was filthy. You know, they had blood and dead animals and all kind of stuff surrounding this child just to weaken the child's vessel so that they can take the child's power or possess the child for themselves so that they can use that child's ability to what they want to use it for. So there's a portion of the movie where they kept trying to feed this child like blood. They kept trying to get the child to drink blood, to eat things that were basically what's a good word for it? Um ah Eat things that were, let's just say, unclean, right? But the child wouldn't eat it. The child just, you know, kind of stayed steadfast, you know. And the whole purpose of Eddie Murphy being in the movie was to basically investigate and basically locate this child, okay? And the people who were aware of this child's gifts, abilities, who the child really was, that the child was the golden child, they located Eddie Murphy in the movie because I guess they just it was something about a prophecy. It was something about a dream or prophecy, and it's like Eddie Murphy was the person that fit the prophecy to save the child, okay, and thus save other people. I'm saying all this to say, drama and betrayal is the program, right? And we're talking about governmental control. We're talking about the things that happen around us every day. What is the point of it all, right? And then what they trick you into consuming is the gateway. Hence, why they just kept so desperately trying to get this child to eat something that was unclean. One, two, why they surrounded this child with satanic, twisted, chaotic, okay, ungodly energy. And it was at an excess. Like they kept it going, kept it going, kept it going nonstop. Nonstop. Okay. But the child was still steadfast, held fast. The child was fasting, right? And being very intentional about what it was consuming. And in this case, the child was consuming plants. Okay? Why? Now, when we think about all the stuff that's come out about human flesh being in the foods at certain restaurants, all the suspicious activity going on with the food, right? There's a lot of reports, online about the chicken and the all the different meats, like different weird things going on that people are constantly reporting about the food. Boom. So we got that, right? We got that point. Another point, all the human trafficking, all the child trafficking. What's going on? Like, why does trafficking, why do they depend so desperately on trafficking? Why do they depend so heavily on taking people? And we already know that there's this whole industry of what they do with organs and killing people, taking their organs, selling the organs to people who are sick, okay, who need organ transplants. Boom, boom, boom. So we have some of the pieces to the puzzle, right? So again, going back to the Golden Child movie, they kept trying to get this child to eat things that were unclean, and even like things that were of like flesh and blood, right? And the child was eating on a plant the whole time. What if the reason why there's so much trafficking going on, so many people missing, and this cannibalism and stuff like that, what if these are means of weakening our vessel so that they can then better control us or possess us or attach certain entities to us? Okay, what if that's why? What if that's why, like when you think of places like McDonald's and stuff like that, where there's heavy suspicion around, like what's actually in the food, and speculation of it being human flesh in the food. What if they're tricking masses of people into consuming things that are severely unclean? Now, let alone if you're gonna eat your animals and blah blah blah, cool. But we're talking about eating human flesh. That's what I'm talking about here. Tricking you into thinking that you're eating an animal, but you're consuming human flesh, right? To weaken your vessel so that you will be more easily programmable, right? So again, why is there such a heavy emphasis on drama and betrayal? And look at this as we're talking about it. Why is there such an emphasis on drama and betrayal? Like, even if we think about genres in movies, like the foundational or the key genres in all movies, whether that be thrill and horror, whether that be drama, things that basically just kind of tug at you emotionally, like it's puppeting you emotionally, right? What if all of this, as I've already said, is to make the human being more easily programmable, okay, by making your vessel severely unclean, okay, so that, okay, what typically fuels drama and chaos, right? Things that contribute to stressors, like having trouble with stability and finances, okay, having trouble in your family life, okay, not, experiencing betrayal from people that you thought you can trust, places where you were supposed to be safe, that being interrupted or disrupted, or something that being interfered with, constantly manipulating things or orchestrating things to basically fuck up your nervous system, right? Put you in a state of fear, okay? Make your nervous system so fragmented, or make us so fragmented to, okay, that they can then in a way kind of rebuild us. Let me tell you another message that I got. if you think about the fact that in our world we have a such thing as jail and the prison system and stuff like that, even regardless of your beliefs concerning heaven and hell, okay, people being binded in the spiritual, people doing binding work on people and stuff like that, these are things that we know. These are things that we're familiar with this language, right? Think about how many people are intentionally imprisoned or bind after they are murdered or after they lose their bodies and lose their flesh. Think about who's in control. Like, could there be people who, in a sense, are like spiritual wardens, prison wardens to bodies who have lost their lives in this world? Okay. And especially the ones who lost their lives like in gruesome ways, and people who were murdered, and people who shouldn't have lost their lives but they lost their lives. They, you know, what if that's to trap that spirit? What if it's to trap that spirit or spirits, okay, and then use the fact that they are in a state of unrest, use the fact that they are in a state of not being able to really cross over to the other side due to the severity of their death or however they were taken out, and the torture, the torment. Why is torture and torment even a thing? Why is that a necessity? You know, even when, you know, and that's the thing. I feel like what's been going on, because it's inevitable for what's done in the dark to come to the light. It's inevitable. Whether they try to get ahead of it and call themselves, you know, putting us on or acting like they're just now discovering things, or try to make it seem like they've been investigating things all this time, stuff that we've already kind of gathered pieces, you know, whether that was through divine guidance, through our own dreams, prophecies, intuition, blah, 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 blah. It's almost like the MK Ultra stuff, how they're coming out with all this stuff in the news, trying to make it seem like they're on our side. And they also been investigating this. It's been a long-standing investigation, when we're also aware that there's a lot of corrupt officials that participate and make these things easier to do and carry out. We are aware that there are corrupt police officers, okay, that rape, that kidnap, that traffic, that do all of that. We know when we go back to thinking about slavery, when we think about, especially in the deep south, if you look at the whole landscape of things, if you look at, okay, boom, there's the courthouse, the lawyers, the railroad track, the post office, and then we go back to what these places used to be used for. What was these places previously used for before they became called what we refer to them now as? Okay, these places used to be these used to be places where they would host these auctions. Okay, auctioning off people, auctioning off bodies to do what, I guess whatever they want them to do, to put them to work, to make their lives easier. Okay, to till the land, do the cooking, do the gardening, do the babysitting, do the making this, all the stuff that's still going on now that we now refer to as jobs and career. Okay, so again, what is the purpose of murdering, trafficking and murdering people, especially children? What is the purpose of that? Why do they need to do that? Okay, if we're spiritual, having a natural experience, and we are aware of the things that, see, we can't be too separated from what our physical eyes can see, okay, to help us understand what to see and process through our spiritual eyes, right? For example, like I said, if there's a such thing as like prisons and wardens and, you know, hospitals and the coroner's office and blah blah blah, all these different things, right? And this is not even funny. It's just, what does that mean in the spirit realm? You know how spirits can be trapped at a location where they were murdered, okay, and how some of them will even haunt that place where they lost their life, where they were tortured, where they were tormented, where they were killed unjustly, okay? What is this for? What is the purpose of that? What are they using these spirits for? You know, even when we talk about like cloning technology, when we think about how they're trying to host these concerts using AI of artists who have passed on, okay, how they're still trying to milk and benefit off that person's energetic signature, off their akasha. Is it something as simple of, oh, it's just a hologram, it's not causing them any harm? Is it really not causing them any harm? Is it truly not causing them any harm? Okay, their body, their image. Let's look at it for that. Their image, their image. Okay, is a version of them and their spiritual akasha. At the end of the day, it's an image of them. So if you take that artist that passed on, that dead artist's image, create an AI generated hologram so that now this person is performing, people can gather around and pour all of their energy into this hologram. Who's behind the hologram feeding and consuming of people's participation, okay, for this hologram? It's the same shit that they do when they're alive. It's the same old shit. When you think about those goddamn Beyonce concerts, okay, and all the money that they racked up and stuff like that, from doing it, how they really milked a lot of people. There were so many people who were who just completely voided themselves of sense, responsibility, accountability, intelligence, okay, just so that they can participate, just so they can say that they win, just so they can see this artist. And who benefited the most out of the situation? Obviously the artist benefited, okay, whether that's them collecting the funds, because y'all know there was a lot going on. You know, people were spending their rent money just to go to these concerts. What the fuck? So again, why not just let these people rest? Why not the things that they agreed upon? And I'm even thinking about Prince and how he talked about the importance of owning your own shit, owning your own royalties when you are an artist. The importance of ownership and authority, sovereignty over your shit that is directly connected to your akasha, hence directly connected to your soul, even when your soul is no longer with body. Why? Okay? Why do we have to be mindful of oaths? And when I say oaths, I'm talking about OATHS. Why do we have to be mindful? Why is this spoken about biblically? Why is this mentioned in the Bible to be mindful of oaths and vows? Why? What is the true spiritual importance and necessity of these things? We understand these are binding contracts. These are contracts. Period. Any contract that you sign to, you need to be reading the fine print. You need to make sure that you have some type of governance or some type of authority, a voice, sovereignty. You have something, okay, to influence that contract. If you're going to be a part of that contract, you should never just give the power over, totally over to the person that's pitching the contract to you, because it's a deal. It's a deal between two parties, you and them. I don't care how much you need the money. I don't care how much you need that job. I don't care. I don't. You should never completely disregard God. You should never leave God out of any business deals, any partnerships. This is in love, business, whom you create children with, okay? Any organizations or projects that you join and participate in, utilizing your skills, your talents, your energy, your soul signature. We have to be more mindful of this. I don't care how much somebody break your heart, hurt your feelings. I don't care if that husband, that wife did vows with you, okay? They vowed to be loyal to be faithful, to be trustworthy, to be a safe space to you, to be responsible to death do y'all part. And we understand that death simply means transformation. Death simply means an ending. Okay? I don't care how painful, how hard, how difficult, how much of a struggle something may be. We have to understand why it is and why it's so prevalent that drama and betrayal, struggle, chaos, why is it so heavily endorsed? Why is it so heavily infused and projected and conjured into and onto our lives? Let's look at it like this. Let's look at it when we consider children. And it's crazy. You got a page of wands and page of pentacles when I said that. Let's think about people who have children who have to fund their lifestyles to ensure that their children have the basic necessities. Okay? If we look at the self actualization pyramid, on the bottom are your basic necessities, which would be security, right? Your home, your stability, food, shelter. Those are all basic necessities. Why is there such a skewed um why is there such a skewed like dynamic when it comes to people who either have a lot of these things, they're overly supported, overly secure in these areas, compared to those who are on the far end of the spectrum, okay, where it's really a struggle. Okay, it's a struggle for them to ensure that they have those things. So that automatically makes your children, makes your loved ones, your relatives far more vulnerable to these systems that they have in place, okay, that serve beyond the physical. It serves far beyond the physical, right? Ooh, this is crazy. And honestly, even like in the tarot community, and I feel like the goal for us when we cover these topics, when it comes to soulmates, and when it comes to karmic individuals and witchcraft and third party interferences and stuff like that, the reason why, or the main reason of why we're supposed to cover these things is to basically arm you with strength, arm you with strength, arm you with divine guidance on how to execute warfare properly, especially like on a lower level. And then not only that, but understand the bigger picture as to why this is so heavily used against us. Why is this such a why is this such a place of stagnancy or stagnation for so many people, right? At the basic level, relationships, being able to feel safe amongst one another. Why is it so heavy? That's why it's so heavily attacked. To distract you, okay? To distract you from the bigger things like principalities and spiritual wickedness in higher places. That's the whole point of creating the friction in relationships. Okay, having people so fixated on that they can't see beyond that they can't focus on the fact that, hey, there's a plot being arranged on your child, there's a plot being arranged on your sacral energy, your emotional energy, your energy in general. There's a plot for that. You're trying to funnel that for something else. You're trying to direct your energy towards something else. It's almost like them trying to be the managers of our energy. Yeah. And it's like, what is the easiest way that weakens people? Relationships. Your mama, your daddy, your boyfriend, your husband, your wife, your girlfriend, your sister, your brother, your child, whomever. Those are the easiest avenues to weaken a person, to disable a person's spiritual strength and potential and capability. Your focus. Where energy goes, it grows. Okay? And where it doesn't go, it starves. And sometimes when our energy needs to go in to knowing how to protect spiritually, how to protect your mind, or mental health and mental wellness, how knowing how to protect your emotions and regulate your emotions, but also pass that down. Also be able to teach and educate our kids, our youth, when it comes to that as well, right? If the adult is still having a hard time trying to regulate their emotions, um, trying to figure out how to restore their mental health or wellness because of the stressors of life that are constantly, intentionally trying to overwhelm the person, it's almost like traffic. It's almost like congested traffic, right? I guarantee you, it is more likely to be more crime in areas that are more congested, that are lacking nature, okay? Clearly, it's going to be more populated with low vibrations, lower frequencies, chaos, discordance, okay? Which makes it a breeding ground for evil spirits, okay? Because we're always coexisting with the spirit realm. We're always coexisting with the spirit realm. Always. And this is why there's been so much confusion intentionally placed, like when it comes to understanding who are the angels, who exactly are the angels, the thousands of angels that God says are assigned to us. Who exactly are those people? There's so much fragmented energy intentionally to keep us confused, to keep us disempowered on purpose. Oh, you can't love that person. You can't be with that person because they believe in their ancestors. They believe in the idea of ancestors. Ancestors are demonic. No, ancestors are just your passed on loved ones, who were pure in heart, pure in the spirit, who simply died. They don't have their body anymore, but their spirit is still alive. If we can have a whole realm that addresses paranormal activity and the supernatural, okay, there's a whole genre based on paranormal activity, horror, and typically when we see things about paranormal activity, what they emphasize the most is the evil side of it. But clearly it's not all evil. Again, they intentionally fragment, okay? I don't even know, like compartmentalize. They intentionally fragment and give us fractions. There's just this, it's almost like, like I'm channeling right now, so y'all gonna have to bear with me. They intentionally fragment all this energy. And then they bombard us with drama, conflict, betrayal, chaos, confusion. And when you think about the body, when you think about the body's lymphatic system, for example, your lymphatic fluid is like literally flowing through all the crevices, all around your organs, all through and out your body. And then you have your lymph nodes, okay, where the network of your lymphatic system, it basically coagulates anything that does not belong, filters it through your lymph nodes, filters it like the way our body detox with piss, shit, acne, vomit, filters the trash, so to speak, the pollution that may be consumed through the body, because your skin's an organ, right? We eat things, we put things on us, we go out in the world, chemtrails, pollutants in the air, sicknesses and disease, right? And so your body's doing what? It's working overtime, more so than it would have to if you were not exposed to constant pollution. Whether it be pollution of the body, pollution of the air, pollution of the mind, pollution of your emotions, pollution of your spiritual energy. So you're working overtime. And because you're working overtime, trying to do that, filter through that, so that you can stabilize, you're exhausting energy that could otherwise be consciously directed and focused in other areas where we can better protect our children. We can better protect ourselves. We can oh my goodness. This is why We have to study to show ourselves approved. Okay? For example, the intentional confusion to a piece of the truth or puzzles or truths that we have could look like how people confuse, oh, money is the root of all evil. No, that's not what it says. What it said was the love of money, the love of it. Not money, the love of it. Idolatry. That's the root of all evil. What you worship is the root of evil or divinity. What you worship. We can even dissect that whole statement. The love of money is the root of all evil. Let's take love out of it. Okay? The love of love is the root of what? Right? And that's how they're able to seemingly, no, this is how, we just got to call a thing because this is the reality that we're living in. This is how they've been able to carry out these crimes for so long. Pairing things that are incompatible. They were never meant to be compatible. They never will be compatible. And if there's a lack of compatibility, what does that mean? There's going to be, this is a breeding ground for chaos. It's a breeding ground for drama. It's a breeding ground for discordance. It's a breeding ground for confusion. It's a breeding ground for pain and hurt. Those things that do what? Make us vulnerable to spells, witchcraft, dark magic, demonic, anything, oh my God, anything demonically executed upon you that may not exactly be tangible or known to the physical eye if you're not tapped in with God, if you're not tapped into the spirit of discernment, the spirit of wisdom. Wisdom is even communicated to us, identified as a spirit. The spirit of wisdom. And then the spirit of wisdom was also referred to as what? Feminine energy. I don't care who hurt you. I don't care if as a man, multiple women have failed you. As a woman, multiple women have failed you. As a man, multiple men have failed you. As a woman, multiple men have failed. We have to understand it's about the energy. It's about the masculine energy in the upright when it's healthy, when it's harmonious. It's about the feminine energy in the upright when it's healthy, when it's harmonious. That's what it's about. And where is disharmonious? Where there's discordance. Okay? Respond with those energies the way God intended for us to respond and execute those energies and depart. And sometimes the response is to depart. From what? From evil. From confusion. But all this other shit, like people, all these illusions. And you know what's so diabolical about illusions in the sense of the word? Generally, we associate illusions with almost like a dream, a vision, an idea, a thought, right? And we don't, it's like and that's what's the problem. We keep separating, okay, there's a confusion surrounding what to separate and what to coagulate. That within itself is an entire agenda. So like I was going to say, illusions. Let's say a tangible, physical, something you can touch and feel illusion. There's always other moving parts, right? So boom. Materialism, for example. And this is not saying materialism within itself is low vibrational demonic. That's not where I'm going with this. This is why discernment is critical. But when people are willing to sell their soul or the health, the emotional wellness, the mental health, the mental wellness, and even somebody's goddamn life for materials, for gain of anything, that within itself is an illusion of wealth. It's an illusion of rich. It's an illusion. It's illusions. Bow down to me and I will give you all the kingdoms of the earth, of the world. Man should not live off bread alone, but by every word of God. But by every word of God. Not the word of the person saying, if you bow down to me, I will give you all the kingdoms of the world. Kingdoms, materials, food, bread. Tangible shit of the fleshly world. Man should not live off bread alone, but by every word of God. How can you identify if something or word, a thought, is of God? Does it create balance or does it create imbalance? Does it conjure fear within you or fearlessness? Does it create confusion or clarity? Does it contribute to dis-ease or health? Does it contribute to poverty, however that poverty may manifest? And that's the thing too. This is why there's so many illusions surrounding what wealth is, what wealth actually looks like, how to genuinely obtain wealth and richness and prosperity. Because there is a wealth that's not prosperous. Because if we think about prospering, advancement, ascending, there is an advancement that's not actually advancing. There's a such thing as an advancement that's actually a downgrade. There's a such thing as a downgrade that's actually an advancement. Hey, I'm busy. Can you go have a seat? Go have a seat. You don't have an option. Go have a seat. There is a way that seems right to man, okay? And that's what they use. That's what they're going to continue to use until more of us recognize this. We got this ingrained in our heads and our hearts. And then we also spread health. We spread the wellness. We spread the harmony of it all. We spread that understanding, because we have to recognize how it's disabling us in the physical to be able to do more, okay? To be able to do more to prevent the harm and the genocide and the murder and the unjust wars and murders and all these things that are happening around us at a high capacity that should not be. You know what's so fucked up? You know what's so fucked up about this world? There's already been proof and evidence that Disney has been associated with trafficking, child trafficking, and people are still going to go to Disney because of the attractions. People are still going to go. People are still going to pour and invest their finances and their energy and their children's souls into these entities and these principalities because of the materials that they offer. Illusions of fun, illusions, when it's really just a mousetrap. Different contraptions of mousetraps to trap you, to feed off you, to build an attachment with you, to continue feeding off you. It's like if some places didn't use sugar, or if some foods and some shit didn't have sugar in it, you probably wouldn't like it. And even if you did like it, you wouldn't grow an addiction to it, that attachment. See, we have a lot of different words that's explaining the same shit. Attachment, addiction. Okay? Are there different contexts or contextual information associated? Absolutely. But again, with this Two of Pentacles, that's the whole trick of it all. I'm even seeing the term double talk. If you're not familiar with what double talk is, look, part of the deck. Confusion, illusions, options, a lot of cups. Okay? Not everything in these cups you want to consume. I'm tell you that now. One of these cups have a serpent in it. Another cup has, I don't know what the fuck kind of creature that is. I never even paid attention to it. And all the time I've been reading, I've never paid attention to it. Damn, the Seven of Cups is deep as fuck. Four Cups at the bottom. What's the Four of Cups? Seven of Cups is deep as fuck, bro. Let me tell you, because I'm not going to be able to pull the card right now. The Four of Cups is a person who's dissatisfied with the three cups that are before them. There's another cup being offered to them, right? This Seven of Cups, you have four cups at the bottom. This looks like a house or a tower or a castle. This looks like candy and jewels. This looked like maybe a wreath or something. And this is something demonic. I don't know what that's supposed to be. Bestiality, something. Then you have a person in this cup, a serpent in this one, and then this figure right in the middle is standing out of all of these cups. And we can look at this cup as, let's say it's the divine. It's divine energy. It's the Most High, right? Let's look at it like that. The fact that all of these cups are before you get to the Ace of Cups. You feel where I'm going with this? Like, the Three of Cups, the Four of Cups. Let's look at it like that cup that's being offered to that person that's focused on the three cups before them. Three cups typically being three people in the Three of Cups card. It's three people, some type of celebration, something glamorous, something luxurious, a party, whatever, a distraction. Okay? And even if it fulfills some of your senses to an extent, depending on what's in those motherfucking cups, depending on what's inhabiting those three people in that card, will determine the nature or the impact on your mind, on your emotions, on your body, on your soul. Especially if you find yourself in the Four of Cups, feeling disinterested, feeling unfulfilled, dissatisfied, pouty, upset, whatever, right? You can't even see the cup that's being offered to you from the sky. You can't even focus on that because you're focused on these three empty cups. Right? And who's to say? Maybe these three cups before they were empty, had any of these other items in it. But all of them lacked God. Hence, none of those cups can truly arm you with true protection. Protection that goes beyond guns, knives, your crew, your gang, your witchcraft, your abusing voodoo and abusing all of these different forms of magic and sorcery. Let's say if we're talking about protection, we can look at it like that. All of these cups are supposed to be things that can shield and protect you in this life, right? You find yourself in the 4 of cups, the cups are empty. Find yourself in the 5 of cups, those cups are empty and spilled over, right? We know 5 of cups is typically regret, right? Sadness, depression, regret, whatever, okay? How long are you going to stay trapped, imprisoned, and stagnated on these cups? None of these cups were of God. None of them. Okay? How long is it going to take for us to understand that everything that glitters is not gold, and just because it's being offered to you doesn't mean you should accept it? I don't care what it looks like. I don't care how glamorous it looks. I don't care if it got any of this shit in the cup. Period. After you go through these trials, okay, fail test, having to retake the test, having to study, take the test again, hoping that you will pass the test this time, okay? And remember, I just said, not all failure is failure. There is a failure that is success. There is a success that is actually failure. There is a downgrade that is actually advancement and progress. There is a such thing as progress that is actually a downgrade and dissension. That is all intentional. A lot of times when we talk about mirroring energy, we talk about twin flame shit, okay? We typically only associate that with people. We don't associate that with everything, but it is associated with everything. It's like Stranger Things. The upside world, the downside world. It's like Us, the Us movie. The upside world, the downside world. Everything is mirrored. Everything is mirrored. Everything. Now, when it comes to your perception, the education that you adapt to, that you adopt for yourself, are you going to give the wrong people, places, and things the power to dictate your perception of whatever these things are? Or are you going to give or bring your will in alignment with God's will so that you have clarity of perception? Because it's one thing to perceive something, it's another thing to perceive something with clear lens of the spiritual, the third eye. Period. But bringing your third eye, bringing your spiritual eyes into unity, 10-10 on the clock, bringing your spiritual eyes into unity with your physical eyes is key. Bringing your physical smell, sense of smell, with your sense of spiritual smell. Okay, the information associated with that is key. Taste, touch, all your senses are supposed to be unified. They're supposed to be integrated. Everything. This is why we are made with this is why we're made with spirit and body. This is why we're made with mind, body, and soul. Because these things are intended to become integrated or be integrated. And who's to say? Maybe they were when you got here. But all the things that are around us are intentionally in place to fragment all those things about us on purpose, to make us become more easy, willing victims. Hell on earth is a lot realer than we realize, but so is heaven. Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name, thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. So just as the divine has a will to be done on earth as it is in heaven, Satanic forces and energies also have a will for what's done in hell to be done on earth. And you should never fear anything that's sourced from satanic energy more than you fear the power of God, more than you fear God. Okay? And the thing is, when we talk about the fear of God, it's more so an understanding of just who God is, okay? And this is not something that is completely separated from us. Even we are described as fearfully and wonderfully made because of what we are capable of, because what we are truly capable of bringing forth. So why is there such a war to possess you, to turn you dark, turn you bitter, corrupt you? Why? And think about what people are able to carry out when they are corrupt. So what does that mean for those who are not? What are the people who are not corrupt or incorruptible able to carry out? If we could recognize that, damn, for those of us who can never really, the only time we can see ourselves taking the life of another person is if that person is truly a demonic satanic source threat to our safety or to the safety of somebody that we love, right? Genuinely. But just to do it because of jealousy, because you're jealous of the person, because you envy that person or something that they have, or somebody that how somebody feel, or what because you believe that in order to gain youthfulness or extend your life, that's your reason. That's your reason. You know what I'm saying? This is why it was told to us that devilish energy will always masquerade themselves as light. This is why we have scriptures that talk about being hidden in the secret places of God and being mysterious, right? Wonder. When you think about the word wonder, you know, it's like pondering a thought, like wonder, trying to figure something out, and you can't figure it out. In a way, that is a form of benevolent darkness. When God hides you, okay? But there is a form of hiding and cloaking that is also not of God. And that's when we talk about somebody that has demonic intentions or ill intent, masquerading themselves as light. Why do they generally do that? So that they can gain access to carry out something toxic, unnecessarily murderous, demonic in nature. I'm busy. I'm busy. I'm busy. You can sit right there. You can sit next to me. Sit down. Sit down. Sit down. Why are you making me repeat myself? Sit down. Thank you. This shit is crazy, bro. So going back to, we understand key knowledge that God has equipped us with is this whole energy of something that is of ill will masquerading themselves or masquerading as if it's something of good intent, something that's healthy for us, okay? We have to master that. We need to have more conversation. There needs to be more conversations about being prepared, preparation. Okay, sound counsel, sound counsel, sound counsel, sound counsel, sound counsel. Not gossiping about Blue Shine and Krishan, or Blueface and Krishan. Not talking about Cardi B and Nicki. Not talking about. Damn. Ugh. It's too much conversation about that. That's unsound counsel. Unless you're going to find a way to transmute that and use it for some type of spiritual lesson or a deeper lesson, don't talk about it. What's the point? If you're not going to make a point of sound counsel, why are we using these people or these situations as objectives? Why? And that's what will always get me. The best music to me, especially like when it comes to like storytelling in music, if it starts from a dark place, where exactly are you taking your audience? Where are you taking us? What's the destination? What's the destination? I hope by the end of the song, by the conclusion of the song, you're not encouraging somebody to go out with their gang of listen, directionless beings to go and carry out a senseless murder. I hope that's not where your music is taking people. I hope by the conclusion of the song, it's not encouraging young girls to lead with their bodies and their bodies only, to shake their ass, to finesse and to kill, set somebody up, rob them, blah blah blah. Like, I hope the root of the song is not the love of money. I hope the core of the song, the core of the movie, the core of the conversation, the core of the networking, the core of the job, the core of the project is not to usher in more disharmony, okay? More imbalance, more demonic energy and agendas. I hope that's not the root of it. That's not the core of it. We always talk about people doing roots. People doing roots on somebody. They put a root on that person, and now he's obsessed with somebody who he otherwise would not fuck with. They put a root on that man. Now he's a drunkard. They put a root on that girl. Now she out here slutting and thotting and biting. They put a root on. What about the roots? What about the roots in businesses, movies, the American dream? Music, conversations in your household. Because again, what's the objective? What's fueling the conversation? What is the point of the conversation? What are we supposed to be getting at from talking about? And again, this is not to say that these things, the drama, that happen around us, this is why there's a such thing as transmutation. This is what alchemy truly is. You can take anything that is unsound and create sound counsel from it. Why the oh my God. You can take anything that is unsound and create sound counsel or sound action, because it's not all about talking. It's about activity as well. It's about actions. It's about behaviors. It's about activity. It's about when you network, when you join with others, just like people network and join together to throw these goddamn sex rituals and parties and shit, trafficking children, and they got their whole network. We're supposed to join together as well those of us who are divine, those of us who have awoken, those of us, we're supposed to join together, network, to put this shit to a fucking end. Y'all talking about some banning Tarjay for a week. How about stop going to Disney World? Stop funding them. And that's for all of us. That is for all of us. That is for every single person on the fucking planet. That is for every spiritualist. That is for every person who's gifted, who's a prophet, who's a seer, who's a psychic, who's a this, who's a doctor, who's a this, who's a therapist. That's for all of us. That's something that we all have to be held accountable for. All of us. All of us. And first of all, understanding the mechanisms and how deeply conditioned we are. How deeply conditioned we are to go against God, go against our own divinity, go against the divinity of people, places, and things, and certainly our children. Because even though we know, yes, there's a lot of children who go missing and stuff like that, and you know, there's a lot of all kinds of people who go missing. All kinds of people. Do they have different, do they serve different purposes? I believe so. I believe so. Absolutely. And that's another conversation that we are going to talk about, that we are going to use the cards for, that we are going to use our discernment and our intuitive gifts for, that we are going to be a vessel and an instrument of God to unpack and unravel and do something about it. Absolutely. Absolutely. I know one thing though, talking about dysfunctional relationships all the time ain't it. Only or majority of the time, that ain't it. It's too much. We're distracted. It's too much going on around us. It's too much. It's too much. Imagine going in a store. A man or a woman enters that store. Whole time, they got a kidnapped child or person in their truck, in their car. Whole time, somebody in their trunk. They in the store trying to act as normal and shit. Imagine if your gifts, you are detached and disconnected from God. So your senses, your eyes, you can't see, you can't discern, intuitively pick up upon something in that person's aura, their energy field. There's something off about that person. Nothing. You can't hear the guidance of God and the angels and your ancestors. Like, be a little extra vigilant right now. Let's really observe this person. Let's be watchful in the upright. And that's my thing. For these motherfuckers who be gang stalking, how about you transmute your passion to gang stalk somebody who's innocent, to gang stalk people who are out here the whole time. If you're tapped in, if you're one with God, you could save that child. That otherwise, people who are blind, spiritually blind, they just go on letting this whole demon come around, come past us, and all that, and nothing, nothing goes off. And so they get away with another child. They get away with another person. Being able to identify when a woman is going through abuse. Being able to see through her makeup. Being able to see through whatever behaviors are being portrayed to us. Not being so fanned out that we stay there instead of, is everything okay? You know, and here's another point, not being embarrassed by your personal experiences where somebody took advantage of your vulnerability, but instead transmuting that into a superpower to charge your gifts, your senses, your intuition, your discernment. You know, there are certain things that I'm, noticing. I don't want to overstep. I just want to say it. There's just certain things that I'm noticing in your mannerisms and your behavior. I've been picking up on something, like it's just not sitting right with me, and identify it. Create an invitation, right? Is everything okay? Is everything really okay? Using your experiences, there's just some things I feel like reminding me a lot of myself when I was in this particular toxic situation. And I do an amazing job with hiding and masquerading in poker face, when I'm going through some tough things. I just want you to know, here's my number. Here's how you can reach me. If you ever need somebody to talk to, you can talk to me, right? Not pressuring the person, but understanding when you were in their shoes, right? Understanding other people's stories that we are able to witness because of social media, instead of just using it as a source of entertainment. What the fuck? It's crazy. Two of Cups. The Eight of Swords on the back. Five of Cups. We have to be mindful of not only seeing people based off what they present to us in the physical, but really being able to see people, okay? Being able to really read the room, read the auric field, read the energy field, know what to say, what not to say, when not to say, knowing how to move, when not to move. You get what I'm saying? But instead of just meeting people at what they present is not enough. This is why so much crime reaches completion. And I feel like we just have all these wake-up calls left and right. With that guy, David or DV, whatever, with him, so many, not being able to really see what he was truly expressing and communicating in those music videos. And I know it's a lot, y'all, but this is why we need God. This is why it will always be more important to be one with God before being one with another person. It'll always be more important to be one with God before being one with yourself. How do you become one with yourself? You become one with yourself by becoming one with Source, the source of your soul. You can't be deceived by who developed, who contributed to creating your body and your flesh. Alpha and Omega. What's the Alpha and Omega of you? Your soul. This is why God says, I knew you before you entered your mother's womb. This is why some of us find ourselves in dynamics where sometimes your own mother will betray you. Sometimes your own mother is not a safe place. Sometimes your own father is not a safe place. I think the biggest lesson of it all, for people, whether you had both parents or you had one parent or none, the biggest lesson of it all, God knew you before you entered your mother's womb, before you came out your dad's balls. God knew you. You are beyond your body. You are beyond your flesh. Do not let nobody, literally, nobody, anybody's body, don't let nobody's ever feel like you are outnumbered, ever feel like you're not worthy, you're not loved, you're not valuable, you're not powerful. They don't get to dictate that. I don't care what they're saying, what they're spewing out of their mouth. I don't care. I don't care about their lack of couth. I don't care about their lack of emotional control, self-discipline, lack of self-regulation. I don't care. You better see it for what it is. All those things I just listed, that's exactly what it is. See it for what it is. And don't take offense to it. Don't take offense to it. It's almost like what Yeshua said, forgive them for they know not what they do. Okay? And we so many people, especially in spiritual communities, we broke down forgiveness. We broke it down. That doesn't mean you got to give people access. Forgiveness is for you, right? We already broke that down. We don't need to constantly regurgitate that shit. We don't. We do, okay? Because sometimes we do need those reminders, okay? But for those of us who get that, God is Alpha and Omega. There will be a lot of shit that go on in between time. Okay? Once you come from source, there's going to be a lot of shit that happen in between time before you leave this world. And you're nothing but soul and spirit again, like you were in the beginning, in the Alpha, in the Genesis. Once you reach that Exodus, you are still spirit, you are still soul. So any body in between, including your own body, as in, hey, do you really need to be eating that shit? Do you really need it? Do you have to? Just because you've been programmed to believe that it tastes good? Like, what the hell? It's going to be a lot of illusions. A lot of illusions. Oh, candy is so good. Candy is sweet. Candy, tastes good and da 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 da. That candy is coming from a person's hand who's planning to kidnap you. All candy ain't good candy. All food ain't good food. All money ain't good money. All supposed love ain't good for you. All pussy ain't good for you. All dick ain't good. I don't care how long the dick is, how big the dick is. I don't care how good the sex is. All of it ain't good for you. And it's making me think about waterfalls. Little Precious has a natural obsession for temptation, but he just can't see. She gives him loving that his body can't handle, but all he can say is, baby, it's good to me. Loving that his body can't handle. Because what's attached to it? AIDS. HIV. This is why celibacy, abstinence, self-control, self-discipline, being able to depart listen, and there's always signs. Get off of that. Get off. Hold on. This is not for you to be on. Thank you. Come here.
They don't.
It's crazy, man. It's crazy. I'm gonna use this as an example as well. I feel like in a lot of ways we're too trusting, you know, towards these systems and the wrong people, systems, places, and things, that we're way too trusting just because of the routine. Just because we're so conditioned to the routine. You get what I'm saying? Like, about a month ago, or some weeks back, a few weeks back, a client who's a teacher, you know, she told me that somebody hacked their school system specifically, and they had access to all the children's addresses, their social security numbers, as well as the teachers and all of the faculty. They had all that information a week prior to school starting, and they were asking for a ransom. Okay. Um, Personally, I feel like there wasn't enough concern on behalf of the parents. Now, I get it. You got your lives in place. You got your job. You know, you want your child to. You want to give your child to. You know, and look, all these different programs and conditions is crazy, bro. But I get it. I get it. They intentionally overwhelm the subconscious. They intentionally overwhelm the nervous system. They intentionally do this. Okay, when you get here, you come out of the womb. The conditioning, the programming is already taking place. I personally don't even believe in slapping a child when a child is born. I don't believe in inflicting trauma on a baby as soon as the baby come out. Cutting the umbilical cord, slapping the baby. Trauma. Hello, trauma. What? I don't believe in that. And I'm not knocking anybody who's been in those predicaments, because that's what they have tried to normalize. They have normalized things that are abnormal. They have normalized things that are harmful. But they masquerade it as if it's healthy for us. You know? But personally, if I had known of that situation, I would withdraw my child from that school, as well as my child's information. I would put something. Well, first of all, you know, I would do everything I need to do in the spirit realm with God. But I just feel like I would take actions to make sure nothing criminal or far more criminal can be carried out to the point of something happening to my child, to me. You know what I'm saying? But y'all need better security. Y'all need better security. And instead of putting too much trust in y'all, clearly y'all weren't able to protect, you know, very sensitive information, my child wouldn't be there. And that's just me, you know? It's fucked up, man. And all I can do is just thinking about dreams that I've had in the past, and certain readings that I did as well. And I'm really just about to get back on that for real. But I've had readings, like, I've done readings where stuff came out about the sewage system of the schools, trafficking, okay? The connection of the post office, the railroad track, the courthouse, you know, the Disney World, you know, Disneyland, places like that, and trafficking and child trafficking. I did readings about all that shit in earlier years of me being on here, bro. And it's like, no, there wasn't people or a bunch of other readers talking about this stuff for real around me, at least not the ones that I was seeing and aligning with, you know. But one thing about how things age over time, you know, God has shown me, God has given me more than enough evidence to really trust what He's communicating through me. And that's the thing. I may not have like the concrete, physical, tangible evidence of it at the time, but it always comes out. It always comes out. So imagine if we were so locked in with the divine on that level, even when it comes to relationships and, you know, whatever quarrels or people attacking you, grouping up together, da, da, da. But God has given you, God, God will keep you tense. Before these things spring up, I shall tell you them. You've already had the dreams before the shit happened. You've already had some type of, you already had some type of vision. God already told you what's happening, how it's going to conclude, what's going on, da 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 da, why, the purpose. God told you all of that. Can you then be still and know that God? And that's for us, you know. And it, you know, it makes me emotional, you know, because I have to be accountable. You know, I've been sitting on this certification, my holistic doula certification for a while, for a long time. And the only reason I've been sitting on it is because of the responsibility that comes with like children and mothers and that whole sacred, very sensitive process of birth. You know, it's such a huge responsibility. And if I could just be completely transparent, maybe I do have some anxiety around it, you know, because I don't want to mess anything up. I don't want to contribute to anything going wrong, you know. But I know that's something I'm going to have to step into. And I'm just getting emotional because I don't think I could ever become desensitized to these senseless demonic sacrifices and abuse. To innocent people. And so I understand my walk. I understand. I understand why God had to separate me from certain people, places, and things, you know, who didn't really care enough about stuff that was bigger, you know. This is why I love people like Rizza Islam so much. You know, the people who are bold and courageous and God, you know, to really go after and address the things that are plaguing our world and plaguing the people, you know. And that's why, you know, some of the thoughts that I get, you know, because of the conditioning and the programming of our world, you know, it may seem unhinged, you know, some of the thoughts that I get, like when I think about gang activity and the senseless murders between, you know, young men and women and stuff, like because of greed and jealousy and covetousness and stuff like that. You know, something unhinged, that an unhinged thought according to our world's programming would be, you know, why can't y'all channel that energy towards like the people who really are like even conditioning y'all to be this way, to harm each other instead of harming the puppeteer, getting rid of the puppeteer, like just pulling up the root of the chaos, uprooting shit is crazy, bro. So no, I can't just commune with just anybody. And I have to be strategic, divinely so. And this is not to say that I won't recognize a Judas. You get what I'm saying? And know that the person's a Judas, and even let them think that I don't know that they're a Judas. You get what I'm saying? Like, but at all times I'm going to be guided by the divine, period. You know? And every day for the rest of my life, there's going to be room for improvement. But I wholeheartedly just believe that as long as innocent people are being harmed, abused, and mistreated every day, there's always something to do. You should never be bored. Even if that something to do is healing yourself. You know what I'm saying? Finding a way, whether little by little or in big ways, to curate whatever it is that you want to do in life, whatever you feel inclined to or toward, finding a way to curate that in a manner that will help free those who are imprisoned in whatever that prison may look like, whatever that prison may be, especially if they are unrightfully imprisoned. You know what I'm saying? Whatever that may be, whether in mind, whether it's their mind, their body, their emotions, or their soul. We should be all contributing to something having to do with that. you know but I get it. As long as you get yours, you get what I'm saying? That's how most people think. As long as they get theirs, they don't really care. They don't really care about anybody else who's innocent, who's pure. They don't really care. As long as they get theirs. Yep. Well, to each their own, to whom much is given, much is required. And I'm willing to carry out whatever my portion is. You get what I'm saying? And not just carry out whatever my portion is, that I have to give and invest, but also study, also be receptive to God and what God gives me, what God cultivates in me, puts in me and takes away from me, grow within me, feed or starve within me, so that I can properly execute with whatever God gives me, you know. But yeah. You have to know that if you can contribute to freeing even one person, man, that's contributing to a whole nation. Okay, even if it's just that person's legacy, that's recruiting or raising up more to be on the side of God. You get what I'm saying? Like, don't underestimate that. We can't constantly be deceived by the illusion of supporters, views, and that's why there's so much confusion with that as well. Okay, like you'll see a lot of people supporting somebody that's full of shit, or there's this whole phenomena of bots, people paying for fake bots. We got AI, we got all computers. Come on, like you can't be moved by that shit. You can't let that stop you from honoring or being obedient to God, bro. Doing what needs to be done, saying what needs to be said. Going where God is leading you to go, leaving where God is telling you to leave, or not participating, not going, or God is instructing you to not participate or to not go. And everybody can't come. And you got to make peace with that. And the most successful way to make peace with that is to look at it through God's eyes. Is to seek that understanding and clarity from the divine, you know? If it's killing you, get away from it. If it's killing you, depart. Sometimes extreme emotional abuse can kill a person. Extreme psychological abuse can kill something within that person that God put in that person. You get what I'm saying? It doesn't have to be like your literal death, but it can contribute to that. You get what I'm saying? Anything that's killing something within you that God has put in you, depart from it. It is that simple. I don't care how much you care about that person, how much time you invested, how much you invested in that thing, that place. If it's killing something that God put in you, depart. Rebuke it. Transmute it. Alchemize. If it was intended to deplete you, use it to fuel your power. And that's wisdom. That's wisdom. And I think the reason why understanding, knowledge, and wisdom are always like generally paired or associated, because it is like a trinity. It's the trinity of it all. You know, you can't really, you need all of it. You get what I'm saying? It has to be integrated. It's not enough to just know something or know of something. You need to be able to understand and process it so you can move accordingly, right? Whatever actions involving that, or however you apply, which is then wisdom. You know what I'm saying? So you can properly apply, know what it's applicable to, know how to properly, accurately execute. You get what I'm saying? But it's not enough to just know about something, to know something. That's not enough. Yeah. All right, y'all. I think that's my rant for tonight. It's so crazy. Like, yep, that's it. Yeah, it's so crazy. Like, I thought I was gonna get on here and like be pulling cards and stuff, but that's the thing too. We don't need anything. We don't need anything for God to get something through to us. We don't have to use any of these things. These things are like assistance to us, you know? Divination, an audience, whatever. It's like an assistance. It's assistance to us, okay? For something that you should just be doing anyway, by being obedient to the truth, being obedient, okay? To balance. The beauty of divination tools, though, is to only further show just how amazing, just how limitless, just how boundless God is, just how creative God is, you know? It's almost like the guy who had leprosy in the Bible. How would you know that God can perform miracles? You get what I'm saying? If God didn't have a body for us to see with our physical eyes, to see that miracle manifest. That's kind of how it is with tarot. You know? It's like tangible evidence for what seers are able to see. You know? It's almost like Jesus saying that through God he can heal somebody from leprosy. But the common knowledge is leprosy is incurable. You get what I'm saying? So it's not enough to just tell these people, oh yeah, I can heal a person from leprosy through the power of God, you know, through being a vessel of God, through the spirit of my Father. For how people are so deeply programmed and conditioned, it's better for them to see with their physical eyes. And so boom, there's a man who has leprosy and Jesus heals him. And people are able to see the miracle by him being healed from leprosy. You know? I'm gonna get off here because there's